ACA is our acronyms. We're known for that. We are a 34-year organization as of next month. And what we do, we are a statewide, federally funded program. And we offer the CACFP, which is Child and Adult Care Food Program. I know you mentioned daycare centers. Our sponsorship is for in-home daycare centers. So we have over 600 daycares in the state of Minnesota. We are statewide. We cover 33 counties within the state. And our main focus is, I like to say, is similar to the school lunch program. So we do unannounced visits. We monitor what the providers, the business owners are serving the kids. There's federal regulations, making sure it's appropriately proportion controlled. And there's some other training and things we do with our providers. We're in the home 3 times a year. I have a staff of 13 throughout the state. Yes.
Voluntarily sign up with you to be monitored, or?
Yes, you sign an agreement. Okay. So you sign an agreement. And one great thing about the CACFP program is that we reimburse you for the meals. So we reimburse you for 2 meals and 2 snacks that you serve the kids. So it's a fairly funded program, so it's very heavy regulated by the government, and there's rules and regs that we have to follow in different forms. So we're in St. Paul, and I have an office. Inside the office is 4 of us. Everyone work remotely.
Do you send out menus for the providers?
We can. That's an option. So one of the things we like to say to support our providers is that we do have easy menus. And the easy menu will help you with the grocery list. And our recipes have to be accredited by U.S. regulations. So we do all the accreditation for you, let you know what you need to buy at the grocery store. And so we try to make it very simple for you in our program. So we are actually one of 8 sponsors in Minnesota. It's 8.
One of 8 sponsors in Minnesota, so there are 8 places in the state where people can access your program.
The CACFP program, exactly. And it's only for in-home daycare providers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this was started how long ago?
1981. 34 years next month.
So what are the challenges that you face, especially knowing everybody's distributed all over the place?
Challenges with the staff or with the providers, or both?
Both, yeah.
Let's start.
As an organization, what is it?
As an organization, it's pretty much is to sustain it, because as you know, the rise in food costs and just being able to sustain it. I would say another challenge is that when I think about the providers, it's really heavy rule regulated. Our visits are unannounced. It's no room. We show up at your house. You have to have the meal recorded by 11:59 that day. You never know when we show up. So if we show up and your meal is not recorded, you may receive a finding. 2 findings. Your third one is a serious deficiency, and you're placed on a national disqualification list for 7 years. It's a very heavy regulated program. And so not only are you placed on the national disqualification list for 7 years, you can't have any involvement with any federally funded program once you're on that list for 7 years. So that is a challenge.
You can't what?
You can't have any involvement. So one of the examples I like to use is that, so say if you're placed on the list and you decide no longer to do child care, but you want to go work at a school in the lunchroom.
Oh,
that's a federally funded program. Can no longer work at any federally funded program.
Individually tag
A person
disqualified.
Yep.
Oh.
For 7 years.
That's a long
And
time.
when you say 11:59, they have to record their lunch?
So we go out to your house unannounced. You never know when we come in, because when you sign your agreement, you letting us know that you serve breakfast, lunch, and 2 snacks. So we're coming during that time frame, and you never know. So we come to your house on Thursday, and your meal for Wednesday was not recorded. And so we will ask you, did you write it down? If you wrote it on some paper, that's fine. But if it's not recorded on your meal or on the database that we have that they have access to, 1 warning, the second time it's a finding. After 2 findings, you face a serious federal deficiency of your operations.
So when you say recorded, half a cup of grapes,
Mm-hmm.
half a sandwich?
And it's proportioned by serving size according to the age of a kid.
Like that
It's a, yeah. age of a kid. So, for example, maybe a 2-year-old, a serving size of fish sticks, maybe 3 fish sticks, but I know it's more. But you have to code it by different components. So it's really heavy regulated how much you're serving. And we're actually out there watching the kids eat. So the great thing when you mentioned the challenge is that, so if my staff is at your house on June 10th, and you said you serve A, B, C, D. So when you send in your claim for us to reimburse you for that meal, and you have E, F, G, your menus don't match now. Now I can't pay you.
Oh,
Oh, my.
So yeah, so we do reimburse at the end of the month. So at the end of the month, you send in your claim, and we reimburse you for 2 meals and 2 snacks based on a federal food guideline regulation.
wow.
Is the reimbursement variable, or is it set by
It's-
lunch is worth this?
It's variable. It's based on 3 different areas: tiering, the sensors, and if your community school have 99% of free and reduced lunch. So it is based on that.
Wow.
So
How does a daycare provider get access to the program?
So when you first sign up for a license to be a daycare provider, your licensing worker will let you know that you're eligible to participate in a food program.
It's required that they're licensed.
Mhm. That is one of the requirements. You have to be a licensed in-home daycare provider to be on this program. Another area that we do is that we also offer the training, because when you're a licensed daycare provider, you need 16 hours annually of training. So one great thing about our agency is that we do the training in your house when you're on our program. So not only, so you're there with the kids all day. We do this unannounced visit. So we're going over your records, we're answering any questions you may have, and we're doing your training. The government have 3 trainings a year that's required. And so we're in your house doing the training right there with you once you're working with the kids. And so it's 16 hours of additional training. Not only do we offer that, I like to think that our agency, our mission is we serve children by supporting those who care for them. That's what we do. So we want to make it easy for you if you're an in-home daycare provider. We sell child care business products at our online store, where we have contracts, field trip slips, emergency books, different things and tools to help you be successful in your child care business. That's our main focus.
Okay. On the 2 meals, 2 snacks, is this strictly Monday to Friday, or is there some weekend activity?
It's some weekends. So we may have a provider when she first signed up for our program who would indicate that she's open on holidays. We've had providers say they're open on holidays, and that's fine. It doesn't matter. Whatever you signed that original agreement for, and saying I'm open Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays, and this is the time I serve, that's fine. So it's open. It's been rare, but we have providers that's open on holidays, and they're serving. So we would have to send, if that person's on your caseload, we would send the staff out there on a holiday, unannounced, and it's 3 visits a year.
And it's like licensing. If you show up, they've agreed to let you in no matter what they're doing.
And if you, exactly, it's just like licensing. If we show up and doing 11 o'clock when you told us that's your lunchtime and you do not open the door, you will receive a finding. You have to open the door for us. And you have so many minutes to open the door
Oh.
because we assume you're updating your records.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to open your door. You signed up for this program.
How much time? I mean, what if they're changing a baby or something?
We allow some time. One of the great things, I mean, this is an awesome program because when I think about it, we're really focusing on just really want the kids to be successful with their nutrition and health. So not only that, we provide curriculum for you in your daycare. We provide recipes for you that's already accredited. We really want you to be successful. So I like to think of it as that not only it's a reimbursement program, it's also bringing in additional revenue. There's other things that we offer. We have support for you. It's online. It's simple now to where you can do everything on your cell phone. You can just key in your meal right on your cell phone and just be done for the day.
Oh, wow.
Hmm.
It's a lot of paperwork.
It's a lot of paperwork. And with the federal government, we have to keep original paperwork.
Oh.
Anything with the feds. Really.
We have original stuff in cabinets.
Leslie, can you give us number perspective? How many daycares in Minneapolis are involved? And do you know about up here in the northwest suburbs, what the numbers might be?
I do. So overall, we have about 600 statewide. Most of our providers, I would say Anoka County and Hennepin County is our largest county that we have most of our providers. I have 49% of our families are low-income families. And just thinking about my 2014 numbers, we served over 6,000 kids in our CACFP program, so it's Child and Adult Care Food Program. So each one of my staff carry a caseload of about 160 to 200 providers. So
What's the capacity for more than? Sounds like you're a little strapped on staff. If a number of people from the northwest suburbs signed up, could you handle it?
yes, we can, because that's one great thing about being federally funded at a program. It's 100% funded, and it's a ratio. So they do provide a certain ratio. So each program advisor is what they're called. Depends on if they're full-time or part-time, there's a formula of how many providers they can have.
What's the background and experience of the people who work for you?
Okay, so I started myself. I have an undergrad degree in family studies and a master's in leadership and management. My program director, elementary education, a lot of former daycare providers, daycare centers, former daycare owners, a couple of staff, business, finance, so it's definitely right in the line of work what we do, yeah. One of the great things that we're really trying to do now is that we know there's a barrier and a challenge for people who may be thinking about becoming daycare providers. It's a very intense process to become a daycare provider. And one of the things that I want to do and work with Northwest Hennepin Human Service Council area is to work with families and identify families who may never thought of that as a career. That's one of the things that we're doing as far as want to navigate with you through the system, help you be successful, because once you're a licensed daycare provider, then you can enroll into our food program. So that's additional revenue. So we also see this as an entrepreneur opportunity for families. And that's one of the things that we're really trying to do. We also are currently a mentor partner. So when I think about, it's a holistic approach. You provide the daycare, we're in your house doing training with you, we're helping you with health insurance. We're trying to see if this is something to building your entrepreneurship skills.
So it sounds like it centers around the meals, but you've got all these extra services that, if they engage with you, you can provide a lot of extra services.
One of the things that we've been doing with some of our partners in our community partner network, you're right, the meals is that gets us in the house. Being a program advisor gets us in the house. Our providers trust us. We've been with them for a while. They know we're going to show up, and we're very reliable. We've been around for 34 years. So once we're in your home, we're able to really say, how else can we support you? What else do you need from us? And maybe it's CPR training. They need some additional knowledge on their SIDS training or child care safety training. And so my staff were able to really sit down and navigate with you and find those resources for you to be successful.
Do you guys do any coordination with the centers and areas at all? Or
Our sponsorship is only for in-home daycare providers. There is one of the sponsors who do work with daycare centers, but our sponsorship is only for in-home
I was
daycare.
thinking more like coordinating if I was offering CPR.
Yes.
That's a location thing where people come from all over sometimes if they're aware of it.
CPR is one. Actually, we're trying to partner with this other organization to do that, to really reach out not only to daycare, in-home daycare providers, but to the general community who needs CPR and first aid classes. That's one of the things that we're doing.
I wanted to announce that we were hosting a CPR session that was open to anybody in child care. I could give you that information and you could pass it on to your network.
Exactly. One of the things that we do, we're invited to 7 county orientation sessions. So 7 counties in the state allow us to come in for potential providers who are thinking about becoming a daycare provider. So we go in and we give our spiel why you should be a daycare provider and why you should join our program. And so that's our opportunity to really get in there and to meet the people who are interested in being providers, to answer any questions they may have, and really provide free coaching to them and some assistance through the process. And so 7 counties we are. Hennepin County we're not invited to, but so many other, yes, we are not invited to Hennepin County's orientation.
Their own animal.
Yeah, but we are to so many other counties invited to their
This
orientation.
illustrates my lack of knowledge about the process, but counties are the one that license. Is that it? Okay. And that's why they have the orientation sessions. That's where
They have the orientation sessions. Pretty much, they're monthly, so they have the orientation. It's a 2-hour session. So if I was interested in being a daycare provider, I go to the session and
Leslie, we have a really diverse community, and the food needs of the children are different than what they've been 10 years ago. How do you handle the diversity of the food choices and needs?
One of the things, when we think about our daycare providers, so when I think about our families from different communities and backgrounds, there's certain food items they can definitely serve as long as it's accredited and meet the meal pattern. So one of the things that we're able to do with you is sit down with you and say, let's look at this list of foods and how can we put a meal together that fits the federal meal patterns. And so it's just a little bit more coaching and time for us to really put these meal patterns together for families, but we have done that. And that's all it is. So we do have access to it. It may be when I think about some of our Somali families, and there's certain things they may want to serve. And what I found in the past, it's just not knowing, just information knowing that, yeah, you can serve this. As long as it's on this meal pattern and within the right portion control, yes, this can be a meal that we can reimburse you for. So it's knowledge, it's the information knowing that, yeah, you can.
So the meal patterns are, I don't want to say flexible, but they are, they do allow different, types of menus depending on, I suppose, the food value of each.
I would guess it's looking at the nutritional.
I was going to look at the nutrition because I was going to say there's certain things, there's certain types of infant formula that we can serve, and you need special diet statements for different things, so yeah, it is. But it's all set by the federal government, which is nice. We have a food chart.
Yeah.
And so when we plan our easy menu for our providers, we're simply looking at the meal chart, the food chart, and just putting meals together for them and having it already credited for them. And so we try to make it easy for them.
So plantains and things like that would be on there, and they would be able to, they probably don't realize it. because
They don't realize it, but it's on there. So have any of you heard of the food program? I'm pretty sure you have, yeah.
Well, we're obviously watched from a different group, but yeah, we're very well tuned in that. And Primrose itself, as a franchise, has rolled out what they kind of term their healthy menu initiative, that all schools are required to provide a healthy menu based on certain elements like what you described. It's all FDA approved and even higher in some cases. So, but that's kind of what we do. And of course, we get our health inspections and our licensing representatives come and they check our menus to make sure we're meeting all the FDA requirements.
And that would be the responsibility of the licensing level of government.
She's helping licensing in the in-home situation. Licensing with centers looks at the entire center operations, including
I like to say we're the eyes and ears of the USDA government. That's where our funding comes from. So it comes
a lot more area to cover because the centers are about 2,000 of them in the state.
I want to say it's a little under 10, so it's closer to statewide. Well, centers, yes, but in-home daycare is about 9,000.
It's about 5 to 1. So.
Yep, so we're 9,000 in-home daycare providers in the state.
And licensing struggles to get out to all the centers. It sounds like you have better coverage than licensing probably does, but they struggle to get out to the centers as often as they should. Or not centers, the homes.
Right.
So having somebody that can help do a visit, is probably all the better. Are you involved or affiliated at all with any of the parent-aware ratings? Or?
No, we're not. That's one of the things. I have a couple of meetings set up next week to see about partnering with some of the agencies in St. Paul. I know one in St. Paul in particular that does the parent-aware stuff, so no, we're not. And surprising, some of the feedback I've heard from some of our providers why they're choosing not to participate in parent-aware.
Yeah, there's some rigor involved in it.
Yes.
And it's actually, I would see it as very challenging for in-home because you got to do so much on top of your day-to-day. Because I could tell you from a center perspective, the path of accreditation by parent-aware or ratings by parent-aware is very challenging unless you can do the accelerated path through like one of the accreditations. I know there's some in-homes that are on it, but they probably, were aligned already pretty well from the day that they started.
From the start,
But if you have to take on a lot more, the educational,
it can be difficult, and that's some of the feedback that we've heard too.
I have no doubt. That I've been talking to the parent-aware people just from our experience, but I can also pass on that in-home are experiencing the same thing we are. If you've got to do it from the ground up, it's a very challenging, cumbersome process.
And one of the things too I think about, not only with parent-aware and with the food program and with any other program, is that There's some language barriers, and there's some other barriers that I think that's not addressed, and it needs to be addressed, and that definitely hinders people from being on our food program or for participating in Parent Aware, because there's cultural barriers, language barriers, and it's not addressed at that level.
And ironically, Parent Aware, one of their tenets is you have to have cultural integration into your programs to get your ratings. So if they're not meeting the basics of just language, that would be interesting feedback to provide to them, that you say you want to do this, but you're not doing it in
You're not
practice.
helping
Exactly.
to do it. We have a new person coming in. I want her to introduce herself, and this is our speaker.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Lauren Paga, and I work with the Robbinsdale Area School District for the early childhood programs. I work mostly in community outreach. And Monica Potter is my director.
Right.
Good morning. Good morning.
And we are already into it, so you'll have to talk to her one-on-one on the basics, but we've just been asking questions about the program.
Okay.
Are you aware of this program at all? Or, and I shouldn't ask such questions, should I?
I like the conversation that I walked into it.
Yeah, okay.
Leslie, how do you see the program growing, say, in the next 2-5 years, and what are you doing to try to make it grow the way you'd like to see it grow?
One of the things that how I see our program and our agency growing is really focusing more on training. We're really looking to do more business training for some of our providers, so they can really see this being an in-home daycare provider as actual business. So whether it's business training around outreach and marketing, growing your revenue, how to sustain your business, so it's definitely training. And that's what I've been doing the past 6 months since I've been in this position. I've been in this position 3 years, but really just trying to focus on training, because I think having appropriate and long-term training will sustain their business. That's one area. But also really trying to grow in the greater Minnesota. We're growing there with some help from some foundations. And so what we're doing there is really looking for those families who are interested in becoming a daycare provider. So it's more on the lines of the entrepreneurship, seeing this as a career. How can we really work with you to be your own child care professional is the term that we call them. So that's what I see us really focusing on. The food program is here, it exists, it's been around for 34 years, but the next thing for ACA and for in-home providers is business training and how to start your own daycare business.
Do you do marketing then, or do you attend conferences? How do you get the word out, and how do people stumble across you, if you will?
So we are listed with First Call for Help, so 211. If a person called looking for interested in starting your own daycare business, that's one thing. And in our county orientation, so even though we're in 7 counties, but the daycare community is so small, people do talk. So it's like once you say you're having CPR and first aid and you're successful, people do spread the word out. But just through our marketing, we know that we're in the home 3 times a year. So a lot of it is that talking to our providers, checking in with our providers. We do have access to the DHS lookup list for daycare providers. So we're doing a lot of intentional recruiting from that list. Being selective on the area if we're trying to have a class in Hennepin County, really targeting the families in that area. So a lot of it's intentional recruiting that we're doing.
Could you see yourself doing something like a state fair?
Why not? Why not? We are going to be doing a conference 2016 in Austin, Minnesota, our first one. One of my staff said, hey, I have clients here and we do training. Let's bring something to us. I'm like, okay. So yes, why not? And I think that's the next thing that we're really just trying to focus on, this nutritional training. We have the staff. I like to think we're the experts in this field.
So what can we do to help you?
One of the things I would love to do is just spread the word. I mean, we exist. I feel that when I think about our families in the program, I think a lot of families don't even know it exists, especially daycare providers, in-home daycare providers, that there is a program that not only can help you with monitoring and regulating your meal patterns, but to reimburse you. It is a program, so we do exist. I was thinking that helping spread the word. One of the areas that we really can grow is really working with our providers that's from multicultural families. That's something I definitely want to grow in, because it's not many that we reach out to, or that even know about our program. Some of the feedback has been the language barriers, the communication barriers, or just not simply knowing that it exists. I thought about maybe some opportunities to bring some specific programming to this area. I know a partner in this area. We have partnered on a grant together, and we wrote a grant to do some nutrition, community awareness, and outreach to families in this area. So doing different opportunities like that just to really bring some awareness around nutrition, education, working with in-home daycare providers or the community in general. So it doesn't have to be just in-home daycare providers. We are, I like to say, we support those who care for children. They can be in-home providers, anyone, so yeah.
Are you interested in coming to a farmer's market on Saturday morning?
Yeah, yeah, just talking about, got the state fair opportunity. That's definitely a conversation that can be had, yes, definitely.
At your farmer's market, you have booths or positions available for people who come in once or twice.
Nonprofits,
Nonprofits.
and they're free.
And they talk, it's informational, yeah, like an informational.
Well, it's, you know, it's a farmer's market, and there's about 70, 80 booths, and we have 5 or 6 spots for nonprofits
Okay,
that just come in to spread the word.
of course, absolutely.
And honestly, there's probably a lot of in-home providers that are probably buying their food from the farmer's market. Because I know just some of the ones that I'm familiar with in the area, they like to get the fresh fruits and vegetables, and if they're not getting their cut foods, if they see the farmer's market's open in the parking lot, they'll probably drift over there.
And one of the things too, when I think about our recipes, we've been really trying to use non-fruits and vegetables that may not be as common to some of our providers, and really creating recipes for them that's already accredited. And that's really been well received.
And that was part of what I was, Primrose does as well, is trying
Yeah.
to expand the food palette a little
Yep.
bit.
Yeah.
Using things that I know when I was a kid, I probably would have never touched. But kids, if they're introduced to it, they are pretty open to eating it if they see their friends are eating it and their teachers are eating it.
We have things you wouldn't recognize. I don't recognize.
Yeah, I've learned a lot about meal patterns in the 3 years and different fruits and vegetables. I'm like, oh yeah, okay. So definitely, that is definitely an opportunity. So just opportunities. This is a community, like I said, this is my community. I live here. And so just being able to bring my organization where I'm at, the skills and knowledge to families in this community. So that was another reason I reached out too. I'm like, oh yeah, this is my area.
So Leslie, do you, what is the thing that you find providers might be resistant to when you show up to talk to them about your program? Do you find anything that they're hesitant on, or are they all jumping on it right away, or
Paperwork, the paperwork. When I first started, we were called the food police because we show up at your door and we knock on the door and you have to open the door. So I think that some providers, they still are not comfortable with the unannounced visits, but they know they agreed to it. And the paperwork, I would say. So one of the things that we really try to encourage is that, so out of our 600 providers, I still have about 200 that's still on paper. And so we really try to push, let's be an online provider. So one of the things is, it's some of that. Some families say, no, I don't want to be online. I don't have a computer. That's not what I want to take on, but it's a lot easier. And you have less errors if you're online. And it's no paperwork because you just hit submit and we have your claim. And so it's things like that, I would say.
But that type of resistance probably happens once they're in the program. They start suddenly realize what they're into, as opposed to you show up and say, let me tell you about what we're doing, and are you interested? Most of them are interested.
One of the things I found, because there's 7 to choose from, we all offer the same thing. So my struggle and my challenge has always been, how are we different? So what makes ACA different than the other 7 food programs? So when we're at these orientations, our spiel is, why should you join us? And so I'm always thinking of new opportunities to be different. So when we're all giving our 2-minute elevator speech, why did you choose us? And some of the feedback have been, when I've done some assessments with some of the providers, you were the first to return my call. It's basic customer service. It's follow through. And some people take that for advantage, but that's been a win for us when you really return someone's call. And so because of all 7 food programs, we all have all 7 sponsors, we all have the same food program. So I would say that, and there's some that's larger than us, so they can offer more,
Okay.
large as far as their budget size. So it's competition.
So it's a little competitive.
It's very competitive because you're all invited to the same orientation. So why would one choose over the other?
Okay, and that's part of the push, I assume, to expand more services, to try to...
Offer something that's different. So one of the things, most of them offer conferences, and then we want to offer business training. So we changed the word to child care professionals. This is your profession. You chose this as your career. So how can we work with you? We want to offer you stuff on curriculum. So when you're there, we have curriculum that we can use and offer you and come out to your house and show you how to use this curriculum. So yes, it's always how are we different than the other 7 sponsors.
Maybe helping them with parent aware, because if you can get there's a few people now starting to rise up as experts in that. Well, and I can see where they're going to turn around and offer their services from a contracted standpoint to centers who want to. Who want to go through that process, because I think having an expert of how to get through this.
How to get through it.
Might be a service that, as parent aware gets more traction, might be valuable.
And especially because we're in the home. So we already have that trusted relationship. We're in the home.
And that market right now is being ignored from a parent aware perspective. I think they're really focused on centers.
They're focused on centers. So if I get the right person, the right ear to say, hey, it's in-home daycares, we exist, and it's an audience that you can really tap into.
For in-home daycare, you're mentioning infant to 12, in particular now with the summer school. Does it get pretty crazy for a lot of in-home daycare providers with children not being in school?
It does, but they do. USDA also offer a summer meal program, and that's for some of the up to age 18. And a lot of parks have those programs and community centers. So it's got to make the connection, and kids can still be fed. So you only can claim from infants to 13. If you're watching an older kid, that's fine, but we only reimbursing for infants to 13.
A lot of these community programs now, like at parks and stuff, is that become a child care program that's all day out of it?
It depends. From my experience doing the CACFP summer, it's called CACFP Summer Meal Program. That's the name of it. No, it's drop-in. So you advertise that you're serving lunch from 11 to 12:30, and it's kids up to age 18. You just sign up, you drop in, you get your lunch. So and they're pretty much around parks, a lot of community centers. I know in this area there's a couple of community centers in Brooklyn Park and Brooklyn Center that's offering it.
About 3 years ago, 7 school districts in this area, serving this area, came together and invited daycare providers from varying cultures, brought them in so they can learn the possibilities of getting licensed.
Okay.
And I think that initiative still is of interest to people. There was a whole evening training and looking at what could you do, what can we do? Because the fear of having someone come in, if you're licensed, is a big barrier. And most people of many cultures who come here as new arrivals or in the past 5 to 10 years have no idea that this is even a possibility, and that the support would be there.
And the support is there. And not only the support is there, and also the benefit. So not only the benefit that once you are licensed, you are eligible to participate in the food program, but then also you can use that as a marketing tool to get families enrolled into your daycare, that you are licensed and that you are offering the food program. So definitely, and those are families, when you talked about growth, that we're looking for. We want to work with you. We want to offer that to you. It takes 6 to 9 months to complete the entire process to become a licensed provider. And a lot of families don't know that. You need to have a physical within a year. There's certain things that you need before you can even, in addition to $150 that you need before Hennepin County will even process your application. And it's 6 to 9 months. So you think about it, you're right. Families who knew, yeah, they don't know. They're interested, they don't know. Or even we may have families who are caring for kids, because you can still care for kids and you're called an unlicensed provider. But you just can't participate in the food program. So one of my big sells is that, okay, you're unlicensed. Let's go through the process to get you licensed. There's a process. You've been doing this work, so you care for kids. How can we support you in the process to become licensed and helping you navigate through that system?
Well, I would think the reimbursement would be very attractive because in-homes now are getting more and more requirements put on them for equipment and physical configurations, and it's getting expensive.
It's getting expensive.
And if you've got some channel to help supplement some of that cost, which
We do have a $300 initial startup loan, and it's only for new providers. So if you're interested in the process, there's certain things that your licensor require that we can help you with it's a grant. It's not a loan. It's $300 grant to help you with the process. But there are certain criteria that you have to have. Maybe it's your home safety check. It's your fire extinguisher check. It's different things that we require that the $300 have to be used for.
and those are new things that licensors require.
It's the things that licensors require.
Which nobody ever thought of in home daycare situations
Don't think
before.
about it.
Because I've actually had home childcare people come to work for me because they just had to give up on being a home childcare provider because of all the expense and additional requirements.
They
that the
were
states-
unlicensed, and
Well, they were already licensed.
They were
before,
already
but,
licensed.
Most stuff is grandfathered in, but the state's slowly kind of twisting the screws a little bit and telling them, okay, by this point you need this stuff, and by this point you need this stuff. And it's equipment, it's expensive stuff. It's not, a few books here or there.
In addition to the additional 8 hours of training that just was passed this year.
Okay.
First it was only 8 hours, now it's 16.
There's
And
all stuff they gotta pay for.
and they have to pay for that on their own. And so when I'm thinking about the partners in our community partnership network, those are partners. Let's partner together. You have the class, the training, we have the people. How can we work together to support the child care professional? But they have to pay for that.
And they can do it after hours because they can't take time out of their day
all right.
to do it because they're usually a 1 or 2 person show.
Yeah. So we're doing online stuff, trying to do weekend classes. So exactly. So there is a barrier.
Charges that home daycares provide? I mean, does a home daycare cost the same in one or the other home?
It depends. If it's accreditation. So if you have the parent aware that he talked about, the STAR accreditation, you can charge more. So yes, it's not the same. And actually, if you are accredited daycare, you definitely can charge more.
And, if you get an accreditation,
You
you can get a differential if you're on child care assistance of 15%. If you're parent aware and you're 3 or 4 star rated, you can be eligible for scholarships where the state will actually pay for it. So there are some different things to plug into. But just the minimal license requirements, at least from what I'm hearing about, what changes they got to make to their homes for safety. Those are getting to be pretty cumbersome for some people.
What happens to the kids who can't afford to pay more?
I know. Where do they go? The families who can't afford to pay more.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, where do they go? So I think from my experience in child care, we talk to families about trying to work out something with the provider. We talk about bartering with another neighbor or doing different things. But you're right, some families can't afford child care.
Let me paint a scenario. A grandma who's got 6 grandkids and she can watch her children for low reimbursements. She loves her kids. Advantages, disadvantages to getting licensed and being part of your program. Do you have some grandmas like that even? Or?
I would say we do, but in order to be on the food program, she has to be licensed.
Yeah.
So we had that scenario. So she's probably receiving some Hennepin County reimbursement because you can still receive some money from Hennepin County if you're not licensed. You just can't be on the food program to receive reimbursement for the meals and the additional training. So then I think our avenue would be to really pitch to her, hey, let's look at the process to become licensed and really look at some of the barriers for her, because I think a lot of families maybe if they don't know what it takes. It's a process, but some of the things you can pretty much rule out. So if she's not licensed, she can simply continue to care for her grandkids and receive money, but you couldn't be on the food program. If the person that you're caring for, so if you can for if that person qualified, yes, you can.
Oh, the complexity of it.
It's complex.
Cumbersome, that's a good term too. Right. Not just
And I just feel like, a lot of people don't even, when I think about just the food program, you don't know. But we've been known to be the food police because we do unannounced visits.
Do you have information? We have another network that has a number of people new arrivals. And so they may not be U.S. citizens, but they're also taking care of one another's children and doing things, and some of them are home daycare providers. Is there any information you have that I can send out to that network so they could let their cultures know?
I can get you some stuff.
That would be great. I know they would be interested in this opportunity.
I know there's a real barrier when you show up and say, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
We don't say that. So
Good, that's good.
no, we do not say that, because one of the things we've also found out is just the trust. So one of the things that I've really been working with my staff on is that our approach, there's etiquette to home visiting. It is. And we call it home visiting etiquette, okay? So it's our approach. It's being that we can do it's 3 unannounced visits, but we do have the option to do 1 announced visit as well. So it's our approach. It's some of the training I've done with our staff. So no, we're not going, hey, I'm here just to, we call it the food program, just to look at your records for the food program. And most of my staff been with the agency. I'm the newest person. I've been here 3 years. My director's been there 28 years. So the staff, they're invested. So I think it's a different approach. Like, hey, we're the police, open up. It's different. And then once they know that, hey, and we really try to paint the picture that we're here to help you be successful. We're not here and hope that your records are not complete. That's not what we want to do. We're not here to write you up and you lose this program. We're here to really help you be successful. So if you're struggling with things, let us know. Let us know, because you don't know when we're coming to your house. And if we showed up today and your records wasn't done, you can even write them on a piece of paper for me and just keep the paper. But if your records are not done, I still have to do the finding and say that your records wasn't done.
Now, are you guys compensated by the federal government as well, separately? Obviously, they're compensating the in-home providers with reimbursements. I assume your organization
We
is
receive
also,
administrative funds.
so you're a federally funded organization.
We're a federally funded organization.
Do you guys receive any state help at all, or is it all federal?
Everything's federal.
Okay.
A few grants that we're starting to do some work in the greater Minnesota grants, but no, our funding is federal.
In your 600 clients, would you have a party with just 2 or 3 kids who might be running to the grocery store or to a doctor appointment that on your unannounced that there's nobody home sometimes?
Yes, you have to give prior notification because we show up. So if we go to your daycare and you're serving on your agreement, you said you served lunch at 11 and you went to the park. That's what they do. They go to the park. And if you don't call in and say you went to the park and we show up, it's a finding. You have to call and let us know that I'm gonna be on vacation. So yeah, but there's been some things. If it's been an emergency, it's been case by case, but it's been rare. But you just need to call. You can send us an email. You can send a call. You can leave a message the night before.
If you do a schedule, like you go to the park every Thursday now?
Then that's fine. Then we'll just never book that appointment on a Thursday.
Or if they're serving lunch, would you go out to the park and see what they're doing?
No, because we have to
be in-house.
because we need to see your records. You have to show us where your records are
You're
kept.
not gonna make them do it?
No. We say we need to see your records. No, we have to see where they're kept at.
Do you have many who are non-English speakers? And how would you handle that? Because I'm thinking of...
We have some. We have some. Some that we do have, they have translators. We're able to provide some. Some they have someone else in their family. Translate the call for them, yeah. So we do. So information, especially for the... And I'm willing to come out and speak to a group of, definitely am.
Okay.
To come out and speak, to talk about the benefit of even being on our program and what we can offer, and why should you be on a food program? There's benefits to it in addition to the reimbursement. There is. So definitely willing to come out and speak. That's another opportunity.